Step 0. Build mushroom production unit. Using locally available materials like bamboo, reeds, thatched grass, and mud, construct a structure. For example, an 18 by 15 foot structure can hold 300 mushroom gardens. Step 1. Soak your material. First, collect your growing material. In Chaka 2, the growers use cotton husks. Collect 250 kg worth of cotton husks to make 300 gardens. First, soak 50 kg in one metallic drum with water for at least 8 hours, up to 12 hours maximum. Oyster mushrooms can also be grown on rice husks, bean husks, sawdust, straw, or coffee grounds. Use whatever material is locally available. Step 2. Drain your substrate. First, lay a tarpaulin down. Cover the metallic drum with a porous material like a gunny bag. Turn the metal drum upside down and let water drain from it for about 6 hours. Step 3. Pack gardens. After draining, mix in 500 grams maize bran and 250 grams of lime per every 50 kg of cotton husks. Maize bran adds extra nutrients, and lime softens and cleans the substrate. Leave the substrate in a heap and cover with the tarpaulin for 30 minutes. While the tarpaulin is covered, we will make our bags. Use a sleeve of white polythene plastic. Measure and cut 300 plastic bags, about 40 centimeters long by 10 centimeters wide. Use a string to tie off one end. Pack your substrate tightly into the bag. Do this by taking one handful of substrate, pressing it firmly into the bottom of the bag, add another handful, pack tightly, and continue until bag is full and dense. Tie other ends securely. Step 4. Steam. Clean substrate is a must, otherwise unhealthy bacteria, fungus, and mold could grow instead of oyster mushrooms. To clean our substrate, we steam sterilize. Steaming in a pressure cooker is ideal. However, in our context, we steam sterilize over fire for several hours. Arrange 3 metal drums on top of rocks or blocks to allow space for fire underneath each drum. Cut logs to the width of the metal drum, then stack in a crisscross pattern in the bottom of each drum to create a rack. Fill each metal drum with 30 liters of water. That should reach the top of the logs. Line each metal drum with clean gunny bags. Pack 48 gardens tightly into the drum vertically. Cover each drum with several gunny sacks and secure a black poly sheet over top. Secure this black poly sheet by wrapping string tightly around the top of the metal drum, tying off securely with a knot and a twig. Light fire underneath each drum. When the fire and the drum are hot, continue steaming for 3 to 5 hours. However, after the first 2 hours, when the fire is hot and steam has built, poke a small hole in the top of the black poly sheet to release steam. Once the fire is finished, again after 3 to 5 hours, leave the drums to cool. Once cool, transfer the gardens from the drums into the growing facility into the incubation room. Step 5. Prepare to spawn. Clean the mushroom production house. Lay black poly sheet on the shelves in the incubation room. Spray with BioSafe, which is an antibacterial and antifungal. Install a hand and foot washing station at the entrance of the mushroom production house, using bowls of water, soap, and sanitizer. Also include a solar light in the incubation room, as when we are spawning, it will be dark inside. Our second part is to prepare rings for the gardens. Cut plastic strips about 10 centimeters in length. Form a circle and using a hot knife, melt the 2 ends together, creating a ring. Make enough for 2 rings per garden. In our case, that would be 600 rings for 300 gardens. Rinse these rings with water and soap, place in a clean container, and place inside the mushroom house in the incubation room. Step 6. Spawning. Spawning is when we add grain spawn to our mushroom gardens. We spawn gardens in the incubation room to maintain the highest cleanliness possible and to maintain darkness. Our gardens and rings should already be in the incubation room. Collect additional materials of grain spawn, rubber bands, newspaper, and towels, and place in the incubation room. Wash hands, feet, legs, and arms with soap, sanitize, and take a seat in the incubation room. Minimize touching anything else. Place a clean gunny bag over yourself and newspaper in front of you to use as a clean working surface. Take 1 bag of grain spawn. Break into 6 pieces. We will use this to spawn 3 gardens. Untie your first garden. Crumble 1 piece of grain spawn into the top. Place ring around the end of bag and tuck under itself. Lay a square of newspaper on top of the ring and secure with a rubber band. Turn your garden over and repeat for the other end, adding the second piece of grain spawn, crumbling it in, placing ring around the end of the bag, laying newspaper on top, and securing with a rubber band. Place your complete mushroom garden on a black poly-lined shelf. Step 7. Monitor. For 1 to 2 weeks, your mushroom gardens need darkness to allow mycelium to grow. Ensure the incubation room is dark and the gardens remain inside. Check your gardens every few days. Before entering, wash and sanitize hands and feet. Check your gardens by looking for any signs of contamination, such as green mold or holes from insects. If contaminated, isolate the garden, spray with sanitizer, spray the area with sanitizer, and quarantine the garden from others. If you see yellow mold, immediately carry your garden out of the incubation room and bury outside, as this is very dangerous to spread to other gardens. Healthy gardens will show growth of white, fluffy mycelium descending from each side of the garden. After 1 to 2 weeks, this white mycelium will have spread through the entire garden, forming a white, solid block. Step 8. Prepare for fruiting. Once your garden has fully colonized, it will be hard and white. With a clean knife, cut ends of each garden so each end is open and exposed. Transfer these gardens to the growing room. Gardens need light to trigger fruiting, so your growing room should have bright but indirect light and fresh air coming through a window. Water your gardens 2 to 3 times a day. If available, use the digital thermohydrometer in the growing room to measure temperature and humidity. Step 9. Fruit. Continue watering your gardens 2 to 3 times per day. After about 2 weeks, small mushroom pins will begin forming on the surface of the garden. Continue watering. These pins will develop into full-sized mushroom fruits. Once the mushrooms are full size, avoid watering heavily directly onto the fruits. But continue watering the gardens that still have small fruits. Harvest these full-size mushrooms by cutting from the base of the garden with a sharp, clean knife. Step 10. Post-harvest processing. After harvesting your fresh mushrooms, you may store in a breathable container, either paper bags or plastic buckets that have holes. They will stay fresh for about 3 to 5 days if stored in a cool, dry area. For long-term storage, you may dry mushrooms in indirect sunlight or using a dehydrator unit for about 3 days. Once fully dry, you can store in paper or plastic bags in a clean, dry area for up to 1 year.